And good morning, all. Here's a little farmhouse scene that I'd painted a few months back. I was rooting through some old videos and found this, so I thought I'd share it with you. So it looks like I've jumped into the painting already. I'll just tell you about the paper is a 6x9 sheet of Arch, 140-pound cold press. And I got it taped to my board. My board's on a wee bit of an angle. Okay, so I'm going straight in wet on dry paper here. And it looks like I'm using a mixture of cadmium yellow and cadmium orange just to have a nice little glow at the horizon here. Being somewhat careful, I'm using a rather large, what have I got there, number 10 or a 12 round brush going. And I'm just essentially painting around all the shrubbery, the house, and the trees and whatnot. So as I'm working my way up, I'm adding a little bit more water and making that orange just a little bit lighter as I go up, because I will be putting in just a hint of cobalt blue in the upper part of the sky. And now I've rolled up my paper towel and I'm just mopping out what could be considered clouds. Again, the sky's not the focal point, but it's nice to put a little bit of interest back in there. So there I'm wetting the top of the page all around the building, the farmhouse. And now I'm going to go in and drop in, the image will become larger in a second here. I guess I had my camera a little bit too close. Anyway, I'm just going in with some cobalt blue using the side of my brush. Again, that's the big 12 round going. And I'm just laying in a bit of cobalt blue in the top. I'm dragging it down from the top of the page. Just give it a kind of a cloud look and a bit of a transition between the blue and the orange. Now here at the horizon, I don't have anything specifically in mind, but I want to have something back there rather than just like a prairie look. So I've got, I think, some ultramarine blue and just, kind of indicating that there's something back there like a tree line or some hills, but no real definition. So that was, while the paper is wet, I just dropped in a bit of the blue. Now for the foreground, I'm using a bit of cadmium yellow, bit of yellow ochre, and then I'm going to hit it with a bit of green as I get closer to the bottom. So the foreground is just going to be a little bit darker. So that's just some sap green, and I think you even have a bit of undersea green in there as well. I guess I should have acknowledged my like and subscribe button while I'm painting the tree. Thanks so much for everybody who has subscribed. And once again, thanks so much for all the great comments. It keeps me going. And I really appreciate the feedback. It helps a lot when I'm putting this stuff together. Anyway, so my trees, back to my trees. Boy, going with a big mix of cadmium yellow orange. And I'm also putting in some burnt sienna. While everything is wet, I'm just dropping paint in and letting it all mix and do its thing on the paper. Same process here with this little guy. Yeah, that's some yellow and some orange. Even going in with a bit of red in that guy too. And as you can see, it dried quite a bit lighter, which is the thing with watercolor. So I'll have to deal with that a little bit later. I might go in and do some inking afterward. So for the roof portion, I went with some quinacridone gold for the base color of it. And then for the dirt and grime and everything, I'm putting in a bit of, got some burnt sienna going, and also a little bit of Payne's Gray, just to show a bit of wear and make it a little bit interesting on the roof rather than just having it straight up gold. So I'm using... I didn't mention it, but that's a 1/2 inch flat brush that I'm using to paint in the roof. And the as far as texture and everything, the shingles, the drawing of the shingles are doing quite a bit of the heavy lifting. So I think that works. Now for the background trees, they're going to be pushed back a little bit. I'm trying to make them a little bit lighter, so I'm just using the same color, a bit of that orange mix up at the top. So I've just got a little stand of trees at the back there, like 3 or 4 little trees back in the distance. And just doing some negative painting around that nice little doghouse. So that's actually what I put right in. The trees look kind of goofy with the trees right behind the doghouse, so I just threw a little shrub in there in the background. So now for lighting, I'm about to do my shadows, and it looks like I want to keep this bright and airy, so I'm going with ultramarine shadows here. A nice bright mixture of ultramarine. And by the indication here, I'm having the light come from the upper right. So all my shadows are going to be cast left. As you can see, that main part of the house is going to be throwing shadows off to the left. So my lighting is upper right, and shadows are going to be cast over to the left. I'm just putting the shadow on a bit of an angle here just to make it's interesting to look at. It's probably not true to form, but as always, it's my painting. And if I want the shadows to look like that, just to jazz it up a bit, I'm going to do it. So everything there in the foreground is casting shadow. I got a big overhang over the porch. And that's always fun to paint that in too. Now the window treatment, the windows are just it's just pretty well a sky color, so a little bit of cobalt blue for the windows. Tiny little spotter brush there to fill those in. Oh, by the way, there's a template for this painting over on Patreon. And if anyone's interested, I have prints of this over Etsy. So there's all my selling for today. Etsy for the prints, Patreon for the template. And now let's get into some inking here. So I'm using my Rotring, and that's a 0.25, pretty fine point. And I'm using Diatramentus archive ink in the pen. So it's obviously waterproof. Because I used it for the initial drawing and was able to paint right over it, no problems. So I'm really loose here with the outline of the trees. And as they did dry quite a bit lighter, as you can see, I did a bunch of hatching under it. I'm going to do that right here too, just to indicate the darker side of the tree. So I didn't go in with extra paint and muddy it up a bit. I just thought I'd do the shadowing or the underside with ink today. Now the thing is with these Rotring pens on rough paper like that, it's not rough paper, but it is the 140-pound cold press, so does have some texture to it. So it's got to be careful with these pens. They get caught in the paper. You actually can break them pretty easily. But I think I've kind of got it figured out. I'm just touching up some of the leaves that I missed there. Now for my trunks, it's a combination. Looks like I'm using a bit of purple in there. I got some purple, some Payne's gray, and I'm going to add a bit of burnt sienna in there as well. I'll leave my downspout and eaves trough and everything is just a combination of Davy's gray and a bit of Payne's gray, and I use burnt sienna for the rusty bits. So when I was looking at it, I remember doing this painting. I looked at it and it was just a little bit plain, so I thought I'd jump in with some sap green and paint the porch at the front with a completely different color, and then I can use it for the any of the extra bits like the added details on the house. And I think it helped it. So I can use it for all the window treatments and, of course, that little addition that's hanging out on the upper right-hand side of the house. Now for this chimney at the back, I'm using Davy's Gray again, and I think I'm going to drop in a bit of burnt sienna. It's a bit plain like that, so I'm going to put some burnt sienna just to give it a little more color and separate it from the sky. And of course, I couldn't very well have a green bush right in front of a green porch, so I need this little bright red tree, little shrub in the front there. And I'm just lifting out a bit of the color on the right-hand side because the light is coming from the upper right, so kind of create a little bit of a shadow look on it. Speaking of shadows, just darken up the front of the house there because the steps and the porch will be throwing a bit of shade over there. And again, more green, but I have to separate it from the green in the front. So it looks like I used a bit of olive green there and just throwing in some burnt sienna at the base of it. So now I can continue to paint my trim, and we're almost in the home stretch of this guy. So I'll get the rigger brush out. That tells me I'm getting close to the end here. Everything appears to be dry. So the rigger brush is a combination of, what have I got, burnt sienna, purple, and Payne's gray to do that trunk. Skinny little trunk. And the rigger brush is perfect for it because you can do these little branches. So I'll just come in with my little 1/4 inch flat brush, make a nice bright yellow door on there, and finish things up with the rotring pen. Just put little bits and pieces in to finish it up. We'll get it signed. We'll get the tape off of this guy. And there you have it, little farmhouse. As always, thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you again soon.